one of the things in effective communication is people often do not react to what the other person is saying, but they react to what they're hearing. So it's not what you're saying to me, it's all about what I hear. And what I hear is based on my mind map. Everyone has a mind map, and this is what we learn in neuro-linguistic programming. Everybody has a mind map, and the brain absorbs the information in several ways. Practically every new information, the brain absorbs it in 5 ways.
Hello, I'm John Brink, and we are podcasting on the Brink from downtown Prince George, British Columbia, Canada. And for all those people watching us from around the world, they say, okay, we know where Canada is, right? Right. And then British Columbia is on the West Coast, right? Right. And we have a big city in the British Columbia is called Vancouver. Well, we are 500 miles north or 800 kilometers north of Vancouver. And that puts us in the center of British Columbia, north, south, east, and west. Big, big province. Lots of trees, lots of timber, lots of nature. We have black bears, grizzly bears, caribou, moose, deer, foxes, and you name it, we have it all here, living in harmony with nature. So today we got a very, very interesting guest. Her name is Vesela Mangeyna, and Vesela is a certified business and life coach, senior trainer under Peter Sage, and founder of Voice and Mind Coaching. And she has a very, very interesting background on the issues of effective communication and organization, sharing insights in how to build a stronger relationship and retaining talent of understanding human needs. Well, that's a whole plateful, Vesela. So tell us a bit about yourself. You are not from North America. Where are you originally from? Where were you trained? Then where are you now? And how did you gradually get into what you're doing?
Yeah. Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure for me to be your guest. I'm originally from Bulgaria. I live in Sofia. This is the capital of my country. It's in East Europe. I certified as a coach from an English-based company. It's called Noble Manhattan. I became a member of the International Coaching Federation, and then I certified as a coach of Peter Sage, who is a British guy, and he has a number of coaches and trainers who he leads. But before me starting on my coaching career and training people and helping them living a meaningful life, I spent a number of years, like 13 years, in the finance corporate world. And actually, this corporate world prepared me for where I am at the moment. I spent 9 years in one of the biggest corporations for auditing in the world, Ernst Young. I spent several years in Bulgaria and 1 year in the United States, which gave me a broader view. After I spent so many years in the corporate world, I was missing several things. And one of the things I was missing is the meaning, why I'm doing what I'm doing. What is the purpose of being there where I was at that point in time? And I didn't have the answer of this. I was working for a company for medical devices, and we were selling medical devices to hospitals, and the doctors were saving people's lives. But I was not saving people's lives, and I was missing the meaning. And this was one of the biggest reasons where I start looking for what is more than where I'm at the moment at the corporate world. And another important thing that brought me where I'm at the moment was I didn't use my greatest talent I had in the corporate world. I was doing very much finance things, corporate things, but I didn't use the greatest talent I was gifted from God. And this is another thing I wanted to develop and to use. And this is what made me leave the corporate world. And another very important thing, I didn't use the full potential of myself at the workspace. And I do believe that people have to live and experience their full potential. And this is how we are useful to the world today. When we identify what is our talent, when we live it, we excel in what we are doing. And this is how we give to the world. Because we are using the goods and the things that have been created from people before us. But what about people that are coming after us? So these were the three reasons why I decided to leave the corporate world, although I was very, very successful there, and joined my corporate career. So this is, in short, why I did this change. And by the way, very often people are wondering at me why I have done this, why I left the great corporate position. I was a manager. I was one of the managing directors of the companies. I've got nice company car, salary every month, bonuses, and all these things. Everyone is looking for.
So what somebody could say, there you had stability at a critical point in life. You're still young, relatively speaking, and so you had all of that, and then you had to step away from all of that and go into a totally new direction. And so the other thing that I kind of looking at your bio that I saw that may have something to do with this is NLP. Would that have something to do with it? And which is, I looked it up in Google, it said neuro-linguistic programming coach.
Right.
Is that who you are?
Right.
So can you
Yes, I am
explain
neurolinguistic.
So yeah, you can say it. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I'm neurolinguistic programmer as well. I went through a training for that. And actually, what is the linguistic programming? It's to connect our thoughts to our language and the way we behave. So by reading, by being able to read the people's behavior based on their thoughts and their language, you can influence them. Many people say by using linguistic programming, you can manipulate people, but I don't like this manipulation. I rather say it's an influence. You can influence people by knowing this, how the brain, the language, and the behavior of people are connected. And when you know this, you can influence them for good.
So more or less give them guidance into a different direction or changing what they are doing, especially if they are searching you and are seeking for a direction, which are many, many people, and that not have not made the connection between mind, physical, and communications. That can be troubling and difficult at virtually any age. And so you provide through this system and your involvement with Peter Zake and other people, you develop that ability to become a certified programmer in a way, and it's based on neurologistic programming, which is, correct me if I am wrong, always has been a need for that, but relatively understanding, and this NPL, I've never heard of it, and so I had to kind of look it up, and then, okay, I got it
Yeah.
now, connect. So relatively new Vesela in my mind. So tell me about it. Is that now emerging more as people seeking coaching in that direction?
Yes. It's really, people are looking for this for several reasons, because the key word in neurolinguistic programming is the programming. This is, we've been programmed in a way. Everybody has been programmed in a certain way based on where he was born, he or she was born, where people lived, what were the education from parents, where they grown up, what was the school, and we were programmed with certain programs. And by coaching, using coaching and elite mentorship program that I'm leading with Peter Sage and neurolinguistic techniques, we can program our minds in a different way, the way we want. So we can identify the old programs that do not serve us. And which are those old programs? These are the negative thinking. Usually people tend to think negatively. 80% of our time we think negatively. Why? Because when we were kids, people were talking to us in a negative way more than in a positive way. And this is how we see the world in a negative way. We don't see opportunities, we rather see the disadvantages. And this is where our focus goes. And that's why using coaching, we are trying to direct the people's mind in the position to see the opportunities, to see the what are the benefits of the situation. This is one thing, the positive thinking, but it's not this toxic positivity. I have to tell myself I'm happy, but I'm not happy. We are dealing with emotions as well. If you have an emotion, if you have a trauma, we go there, we release the trauma and the negative emotion, and there we start from this point. So it's a whole inner transformation, and the purpose, the basic purpose, other than what I've said at the beginning, to have a meaningful life. The other important thing is to have a fully authentic life, to do what you want, not what other people believe for you is good, but what you believe for you is good, and to align your life with your values. Because very often people do what other people are doing. They don't do what they can do, they do what other people are doing. And this is very common nowadays.
So it always has been, right? But it has never been identified like through NPL or, NL. I just want to
NLP.
NLP rather, and
Yeah.
so if you want to succeed at any age, really, then and that's something that you have not reconciled either through counseling or on your own or by reading or for that matter watching podcasts that deal with issues like that, then you will likely not realize that it may be an issue that is holding you back from success, if you wish, or whatever that may
Mhm.
mean to an individual. And so that if you want to go forward, then it's important to do at least a self-analysis or have somebody assist you in analyzing and saying, okay, there is an issue where I'm not connecting that is slowing me down because negative is overriding me, so that I'm in the habit myself. I'm an optimist.
Mhm.
To me, what is important, my foundation is attitude, passion, work ethic. What will follow is success, and I've always kind of been like that. And I'm substantially older than you are. I just turned 84 about 2 weeks ago, and I was born in Holland in 1940. And under challenging circumstances. Was the beginning of the Second World War, saw far too much that we should not have seen, and that affected me. Still have SPDB and the inner child issues. Had counseling for that actually when I was even 50, the inner child in particular, but it always stayed with me. And but at the same time, came to Canada and then had dreams of going into business. And but I think the foundation for me has always been, even under adversity, I was a positive individual. Seldom will I pursue negative. And if I see it, then I do something about it. But what I find frequently in the surroundings that I have, even inside of organization, there are people that appear to be thriving on negative. If there isn't negative, they create it in some form or fashion. Yeah. And for people that will become leaders, unless they reconcile the question, and I did that, who am I, is very important. And it's very critical to know where the weak points are, and then what can you do about it, either individually or through counseling or reading, watching podcasts like these kind that we do, or seek counseling or people that are qualified in this, as you are, as an natural linguistics program coach, as one of the elements. Now, the interesting part of I find about it, Vesela, is that becoming a good communicator or an effective communicator is extremely important in leadership, but also in life. Is that how do you deal with issues, and what is your mindset, and what is your linguistic approach to it, how to resolve it, or recognize it and then deal with it and resolve it. So either in relationships or within companies or within negotiations, or like in my case, I'm a business person. We have 10 different companies. I do a lot of negotiations on inquiring other companies or doing stuff like that. But the critical part to me has, not always, but has been, and especially when I became more effective at it, mainly after I was 60, really, and it's become a good, effective communicator. And that is a lot of the elements that you're speaking about. It is, in my own way, finding that who am I was important, all the way back to the war years, for that matter, and some other critical elements in life. And the other one is becoming, through communication was never my strong point, but I joined an organization that helped me in becoming a more effective communicator and understanding communication skills. The vehicle was Toastmasters, actually. And I was there for about 10 years and became a distinguished Toastmaster, which has helped me. And the other elements. So am I going in the right direction?
Yes, it's a beautiful question related to communication, because I love this. I work a lot on this to help people to be better communicators and to achieve their goals. And it's similar. If once you become a good communicator, you're a good communicator in your personal relationship, you're a good communicator in your business partnership, you're a good communicator with your kids or your parents or whoever you're communicating with. Because the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And I love the effective communication, because and congratulations for you for the Toastmasters, because it's a high level of communication at the end of the day. And one of the things in effective communication is people often do not react to what the other person is saying. but they react to what they're hearing. So it's not what you're saying to me, it's all about what I hear. And what I hear is based on my mind map. Everyone has a mind map, and this is what we learn in neurolinguistic programming. Everybody has a mind map, and the brain absorbs the information in several ways. Practically every new information, the brain absorbs it in a ways. Yeah.
So what
You
may then happen is that what I heard you say is that everybody has, rather than saying, I disagree with you,
Yes,
right?
because they have something in their mind.
So, and that is one of the steps in saying that, Vesela, I heard you, I understood you saying that everybody has their own mind, and the way you interpret it, then that will change the way your thinking pattern is. Am I correct? Kind of saying, rather than
Yes,
saying, I disagree with you.
absolutely. And what you just said is very important because people often say, I understand you or I understood you, but they don't say what they have understood. And when you say I understood you, you might understand something completely different. And this is where in communication, you don't need only to say I understood you, you just need to say what you have understood exactly the way you did it at the moment. And effective communication is not when we agree on what we are discussing. Effective communication is when we understand in the same way what we are discussing. We are on the same page. The same thing, I understand it in one way, and you see in the same way. I mean, you don't see it in the same way, but you have the same understanding as me throughout the communication, asking questions, clarification questions. And at the end of the day, I say, okay, I hear what you're saying this and this. And you say, I hear what you're saying, you say this and this. And then we both agree on what we are talking about. It doesn't mean that we have to agree with ourselves and I to agree with you and you to agree with me. It means you hear me and I hear you. And this is very important in the communication to be able to give, to be able to hear the other side and to have a focus and to show interest, genuine interest in the other party and to listen actively, to listen like no inner dialogue because very often when people they're speaking there is an inner dialogue. They're thinking about the next question. They're saying, oh, I already know that. Or they're saying, I've heard this many times. Or I know better than this guy. And then the moment there is inner dialogue, the moment people stop listening to the other part. And this is where ineffective communication starts.
So, is it in a way, it took me a long time to get there, but is it not in a way like it's very, very important to find who am I? If I always think that in a workplace or somebody's always attacking me to put in question my credibility so that then you can potentially take my job and then God only knows what, those kind of complicated things. But once you find who am I, then you can reconcile that part and so you're not being attacked or your credibility is not put into question. It's simply a question that you must interpret correctly to continue to communicate. The other part that to me is important, I do presentation to young people in particular, and if I go someplace, then I usually say, and again, it took me a long time to get there, but is that there is only one of you, only one, on this whole earth. There is only one. Don't get overly preoccupied. Is this not right? That's not right. This is not right. My dress is not right. My ear is not right. My nose is not right. Whatever. So there's only one of you, and you are special. And then the other part, at least without believing that you're better than anybody else, is simply saying, who am I? and I reconciled that I'm okay, So and not better than, but and I will respect everybody and trying to if you always feel negative and insecure about what you're doing, then you're always feeling potentially that you're being attacked for not or not being recognized or did not get enough, maybe from the past. That I grew up in a family where although I had challenges along the way, but they always were positive, and so and that has helped me. Although I was my own enemy a lot of times along the way, but certain steps have helped me to change.
Yeah, that's great, and you've been lucky to grow up in a family where positivity was prevailing. And I love what you said. It's very important to understand who am I, and this is what I'm doing, helping people to meet themselves. And the other day, 2 weeks ago, a client of mine, she came into the meeting, our meeting, regular weekly meeting, and she said, Vesela, I very much thank you for the fact that you helped me to understand that I'm a unique person in the world and there is nobody like me. And now I know it. And it's so good to know that I'm awesome. And it's not that I'm awesome better than other people, but I'm awesome the way I am. And this is what I'm helping people to accept themselves the way they are, to look at the mirror and to love themselves. Not to say, oh, I'm not perfect here, I'm not perfect there, I need to do this correction on my body, I need to do that correction on my body, because the way we've been created by God, this is the perfect way. And we are perfect in the way we are, with our perceived imperfections. And once we are able to look at the mirror and love ourselves the way we love our partner partner in life. This is where this is my objective, to make people fall in love with themselves, because this is where everything starts. And then when you love yourself, when you appreciate yourself, when you feel confident in who you are, what you can, you're aware of what your disadvantages or things that you're not very good at, but you're aware in what you're good at. So then you enter the communication from a different perspective. And you say you don't feel you're attacked, you don't attack other people, you're here and now you're present for the other person. This is very important in effective communication, to be present for the person in front of you, fully present, to give space for him to speak, to a safe environment.
And then the other part about it, my experience has been that if you do that and you are like that, then you have a lot of people that want to be negative about that, and then saying that the purpose is not to have dialect, but to rather discredit you in some form of fashion. And so that stops effective communications. What I usually say is that credibility is indefensible because your friends know and your enemies cannot be convinced. So what's the purpose, right? So it's a waste of effort. And on the other hand, though, this extremely important part of life has been there for a long, long time. This is not, although it is new, and for me, I always believed that NLP and saying, again, neuro-linguistic programming has always been an issue that has been there, and it's still very much an issue. It does not stop when you 42 or 43 or whatever, or 27 or 20, whatever. It could well be right up to the time that you for all intents and purposes, like me, 84. And even then, it is still helpful. So what I'm saying is that to have that reconciliation is that who am I? Don't have to be anybody that you're not, or trying to portray someone that you're not, because that's a waste of time, a waste of effort, and usually is not very satisfactory. So just accept who you are, and then and from there on, extend respect. Always start from respect with others, and usually what I do in my companies is people that are involved, and we have a number of different companies, and I always say that I will respect. I don't care if somebody has been there 40 years in our company or 5 minutes. We will always start from respect. And if they ask questions that may appear to be uninformed or dumb or whatever, then we always will respect that we owe them, an explanation, because that shows respect. And that's always, no matter what, in any setting, that those things are very, very important in my mind.
Actually, respect is another thing in the effective communication. You have to respect the perspective of the other person, because it's a different perspective. And we see one and the same thing from different perspective. It could be seen in a different way. If we imagine like number 6, if you put number 6 like horizontal, and I stand from one side of number 6 and you stand from the other side, I will see 6, you're going to see 9. But it's still the same digit, still the same thing. From different perspective, you see it in a different way. And this is when you aware of who you are, who I am, immediately you're open and start understanding the other person, who is he as well. So this is the point. The more you understand yourself, the more you're open to understand other people. And authenticity starts with stop being inauthentic. What you said, not to be what you're not. So if you want to be inauthentic, you have to stop being authentic. You have to stop being inauthentic. And actually, the neuro-linguistic programming is very powerful, because you said, for example, one of the parties still can be negative in the communication. But in neuro-linguistic programming, we can mirror the gestures, the tone of voice, the words. When you observe, you are aware what every part of the body behavior means. You can mirror and influence you can create a rapport. For example, if you're sitting in front of each other in a room, I can mirror in a way. So very often, when we are together, if somebody takes the glass of water, another person is taking the glass of water too, because we are synchronizing. And actually, through the neuro-linguistic programming, you can synchronize. And imagine in the conversation, one person is speaking slowly and quietly, and the other person is shouting. The person who is quiet, if one person is shouting, the other person can reply quietly. Then the other person will decrease the voice. Then you again are quiet, decrease the voice, and this is how your neuro-linguistic programming is working. If I'm fully aware, who am I, who you are, where you're coming from, I'm patient for you, and you're shouting at me, but I'm replying in a more quiet voice, I can use you. And the one who is more confident in what he's saying, the way he's saying, he's the one who is winning the conversation. And if I'm not aware who am I might be overwhelmed by the emotions you're having. But if I'm not taking your emotions and then, okay, these emotions are yours, because I'm aware this is something with you, you need to deal with this. It's not about me. Then I can return this to you and be patient for you and help you. That's why always the person who is with higher level of consciousness can help the other person. It's not vice versa. The person who has higher level of consciousness can influence the other person, can understand the other person, and can influence the conversation.
The challenge will be then, and we'll talk about that a little bit more because you're the specialist in that area, but just from my personal experiences, being in lots of meetings and doing all of that kind of stuff, and I've done that for years and years and years, and I like that because a lot of times I can pretty much evaluate somebody's attitude without them saying a word, by how they present themselves, the way they are sitting, the way they are looking, the way they are projecting themselves in a setting with others, that already then sets the possibility for challenges of some sort, and the key for the other person is aware of this and knows that it becomes then a question how to bring that down to a level of make them feel comfortable. But I intend to do usually, even if it is a challenging meeting with a group that I really have not met before, I usually go around the table, I give them my business card, shake their hands, and a lot of people don't do that, so, and talk about, I had a bit of a challenge on the street and blah, 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 and just some light stuff, and then from there on in, we'll then deal with the business part of things. But I believe, and I looked at your bio, and for corporate listeners, Vesela covers effective communication in organizations, sharing insights on how to build stronger relationships and retain talent by understanding the human needs. Those are the basics that in a lot of corporations or gatherings of people is the negative minds that can be there, that where you try to bring a group together with the same objectives is blocking that because of personal issues or corporate politics. All of that is, in my experience, happening throughout a lot of companies, even larger companies, that we do not expect. And a lot of times, correct me if I'm wrong from your experience as an expert, is that if leadership are not effective communicators, that then doesn't solve that issue or that problem. And then what it then creates is an ineffective result, and that once everybody leaves, everybody has a different idea about what happened and why. And so the purpose then, and I've seen that over and over and over and over again, and so that as we started NLP, relatively new in terms of our conversation, but it always has been an issue and still will be now. It is just who will recognize that there is an issue or a problem here that could be effectively changed to make the meetings much more effective and useful. And so one of the key points I learned through my Toastmastering of 10 years is that a lot of people say that Toastmasters is about speaking. No, it isn't. It's about becoming good listeners and then thinking and communicating on your feet is important, and then articulating points. And then the other part about it, which is important, is that listening to others in that setting of Toastmastering is giving presentations and then do an evaluation of those presentations. That I thought you opened well, I thought you did this well, I thought this was interesting, room for an improvement areas. I would suggest respectfully that that you may want to think about and blah, blah, blah. But on the overall, I thought it was a good presentation. That kind of is the approach. And although it's in a setting like that, yeah.
Yeah, actually, you touched upon very, very good question about leadership in corporations. And actually, there is a leadership. It would be a big word to say leadership crisis, but people who are the leading positions, they're actually not leaders, because leaders always speaks at last. They listen, but leaders I used to see in corporate world, not always they're good listeners. They always want to say what to say, or they give different direction. They have team of several people, but they say one thing to one team member, another thing for the same issue to another team member, and people get confused. So effective, and that's why I'm.
Not only that, you divide them.
Yes, you divide them, and there is no consensus and no cooperation.
And no cooperation. Yeah,
sorry, yes, I interrupted and no cooperation.
You. I get so excited about this that I interrupted you.
Yeah, and there is no cooperation, and this is how people are not able to live their potential at work. And this was one of my issues at the last working at my last job. Exactly, this leadership is very important, to have the same message for everyone. Everyone needs to get the same message. And that's why now I'm working with corporate people, managers, senior manager, or even managers, or even above, because it's like, if the leader has changed, everybody can change. The leader can influence everybody. It's like the parent. It's not many people comes to me and say, okay, my kid is 10 years old, 12 years old. Can you do a coaching session with my kid? And I'm saying, no, I have to do coaching session with you, because you spend 24 hours with your kid and you influence the kid. And if I work with the kid 1 hour, he cannot change you. You can change his behavior, because the kid copies behavior of the mother and the father. Exactly. And it's the same in the corporate world. Team members copy the behavior of leaders. And that's why if we have to do coaching for someone, training, or raise awareness to someone, we always have to start from the leadership from the top. Exactly. Otherwise, there will be no change, because if the leader changes, the whole team he can impact the whole team. The bigger leader you are, the more people you can influence positively. And I love what you said about sometimes in the meetings, there are people who do not speak, but you, by their behavior and presence, you understand a lot about them. And exactly this comes from the new linguistic programming as well, and from the inner voice, based on the inner voice, the inner state of the person. Because you don't need to say it with words, with your mouth, something. The moment you think something, you I don't know how to say it. I just lost the word. People can feel it. So if you are judging someone in the room, people are feeling that you are judging. You don't need to say that I judge you, or to say something I don't like in you. If I have my inner dialogue, you can feel it from me. And the same thing, if I'm calm from inside, if I'm here and now, if I'm accepting you, you can feel this. And this is how you can open up to me. And this is how you can mirror me. And there is another point in neurolinguistic programming. People are like, they're people who are audio people. They perceive the information through hearing and listening. There are people who are more visuals. There are people who are kinesthetic or feeling. They process the information through feeling. And it's very important to be aware of those types, and to be aware what type is the person you're communicating with, and to start speaking his language. And this is how you can have even better communication. So neurolinguistic programming can give you many tools in order to communicate effectively and to influence the other person, not to manipulate the other person, but to influence.
But what is your website, Vesela, for people that want to get a hold of you? We'll just want to make sure that you have that.
Yes, yes, they can reach me out on elitementorshiptrainer.com and then /Vesela Mangeyna. I can share afterwards with you the
And then
correct
we'll post
site.
it on, once we post this podcast, then we'll show it on there. Have you written any books
Yes,
or
yes.
any books or manuals or whatever?
Yeah. I did one. It's still only in Bulgarian language. It's not in English yet, not translated. I can show you. I don't know whether you can see it.
Yeah.
Here it's called, it's a notebook for confidence, to build confidence. And actually, I don't know whether it's seen on the screen, but there are two figures. Yes, and it's very important how you see yourself.
Is there a
What you see in the
translation
mirror.
in English?
Not yet. Not yet. I
There will
will
be.
translate.
Yeah, it should be. Did
Yes,
you
there
write
will
it?
be in English. Yes, I did write it.
Oh, yeah, excellent.
I
I
did.
like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
I did a training on confidence, on building confidence, and based on this, I created this a little book in order to help people to answer the questions and see where they in their confidence.
I like it. So, how do you attract clients? So how do you on your business? So you started the business. Obviously, this has been part of your life for a long time, even when you worked at Ernst and Young and were quite successful and did other things in other companies. It was not your calling. It was not who you are and what you wanted to be. And you saw this and didn't deal with the issues that were so important to you, and in particular relating to NLP issues and issues around that. So how then did you start that when you said, okay, I'm done. Okay, all the security is gone. I'm on my own now. and so how do you attract clients? Is it mainly, where are you located now physically?
I'm located in Bulgaria, in Sofia, which is the capital of Bulgaria.
Yeah.
So I'm located here physically, but I do lots of coaching sessions in online. So like 90% of my work is done online. I do teach in English as well.
In English or
Both
in
languages.
mostly in English, and then
Both.
both, yeah, and
Yes, I do teach English and in Bulgarian. So the program of Peter Sage is in English. So I do teach in English. There are a number of videos to watch, many exercises, and based on the client, we can speak in English, or if it's a Bulgarian client, we can speak in Bulgarian. But I fully do work in English as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and so how do you attract them? So that if you have a lot of your clients are in North America, potentially, how do they say, okay, we want to bring Vesela on board? How does that, to help us? How does that work?
Yeah.
How did that start?
Actually, showing up. It's very important for me to show up. And how do I show up? I show up through the social media. And by participating in your podcast is an ability people to see me, because the clients, the greatest clients that contacts me are through the social media. I do many postings. I share videos I've prepared. I share issues that I went through with my clients. I identify what is important for the clients, and I do show up and speak about issues that are people are interested with. And this is how they reach me out and say on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. Also other media like Instagram. I use Facebook as well, TikTok, all the medias, but very much LinkedIn. So YouTube as well.
So are you part of Podmatch? I don't know how we find you or you found us. Was it through Podmatch or what was it?
Yeah, I'm not part of, but I found you, or you found me through a guy who is helping me with this.
Yeah.
So
So
it was not me. Yeah.
Yeah, the reason that I asked you about it, because that's part of saying to the rest around the globe that the issues that you raise, I agree with you 120% really, because those are the ones that I'm familiar with. And obviously, because of my training in those areas, I believe they are critically important, and they always have been, but are not really recognized as much as they could or should be, even in larger corporations or organizations that that have weak points that could be easily rectified through being involved in something like this. And then the reason again saying that the new media around the world, or the new media really is podcasting, is that, and relatively new. When I first started podcasting, it was about 5, 6, 7 years ago. I did blogging, and then we did podcasting locally, and then COVID came, and then we had to say, well, what do we do now? We could not be doing it more in another setting because they were not allowed to have any people there. And so I had this apartment that I now have is a studio, and then we did person to person as I'm sitting here now. But then we started working with Pot Match, that matching people from around the world with each other, and that is still on its infancy. It's exploding around the world. I think it's the most effective communication tool around the world of bringing messages. And so where you are sitting in Sofia, Bulgaria, and I'm in central British Columbia, Canada, and it feels like you're sitting next to me. Within an hour, we developed a friendship between you and me that I know will last, and all within an hour. And so, it's just amazing. And then the other part about it, that by your friend found us because they looked at my podcasting, and I'm not bragging about it, but again, for you, the more exposure you can get from other podcasts like mine, we have close to 700,000 subscribers on nearly, probably somewhere in that area. So around the globe. And then that means that we subscribers on YouTube, but it likely means that we may have up to 1 million or 2 million viewers on all the other facilities. There's no other vehicle that has potentially this much exposure. And I'm mentioning it, not bragging about how well we are liked as a podcaster, but I'm simply giving the numbers to people that talking about communication skills, why it is so important and so critical, and what can podcasting do for people like you, like me, bring them together on ideas, and then and then where does it go from here? And it will become even more larger, bigger, more effective even. And so that's all in the last 5, 6 years, really.
Yeah, it's impressive, and congratulations. I saw that you're almost 700,000 subscribers, which is really impressive. And exactly, it allows me to get to people at the other side of the world. And actually, I work with people in Bangkok. I have clients from Bangkok. I have clients from Austria, Italy, London, and people find me. I participated in several podcasts here in Bulgaria, and people find me. Yeah, they were in Bulgarian, but now I start participating in podcast English in English language. So, but the people who are around the world at any spot in the world, they can reach me out, and I can help them. And this is a great opportunity. And exactly, you said, like, we are in the same room, but we are so far away. actually, like, I don't know how many kilometers were the distance between us, but it's a lot, definitely.
Yeah, if he did by plane, it would take us 9 hours to go to London from here, and then probably another 2 or 3 hours to get into Sofia,
2 hours and a
Bulgaria. So
half.
12 hours
Yes.
away. So it's on the other side of the earth,
Yes.
and it's a beautiful, beautiful area where you are. So for all the people
Yeah.
watching us, they from around the world on these programs, subscribe to our podcast on the Brink with John A. Brink.com. I'm also doing books. I have a number of books that people may like to see. We can see it on eBay. They are Audible. The first one that I did is Against All Odds. It's about all the ups and downs along the way. Starting with nothing. The other thing, we didn't have time to talk about it, but the book will give you a bit of a shock in a way that I wrote, ADHD Unlocked. I'm ADHD. I call it a superpower. And I wrote about it. The other part is that, and you touched on that, is it's so important to find something that you want to do, that you say, this is me. And I say to young people in particular that I saw a program on the US television that in the USA, and I'm sure it's the same in Canada, of all the people that are working, 75% of the people that are working do not like their jobs. And 70% of that 75% are looking for another job. And
Yeah.
I talked to, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to say something about this because many people do not like their jobs. But what we do when I do coaching, I help people to, okay, you don't love your job. This is not the job of your life, but the period that you have chosen to be there, just let's make it a good experience and do not hate it. So we completely change the perspective. And if you don't like your job and say, okay, this is not the job of my life, the period you have chosen, 1 year, 2 year, 3, 4, 5 years, we make this experience to be satisfactory.
And I wrote a book about that. Finding your
Okay, that's
passion, living the dream.
very
And
nice.
and then I did another one, a book, and then I have another one that followed this one that comes out in June. It's about communication skills and all the things around it. So you may find that interesting at some point. So this
Yes.
one is the last one that I did. Is I'm 84 years young, and I'm into fitness, health, and then I'm the oldest competitive bodybuilder in North America. And that's a picture of me, living young, dying old, meaning age is just quality of life more than the number. And so that the earlier you start realizing how important your body is, your mind is, the combination of all of that, is that, longevity. Usually, for a lot of people, the last decade of their lives, they eat too many pills that are toxic, and they are suffering from all kinds of defects. And the earlier you start realizing that, be involved in exercise, careful with your diet, stay away from toxins, don't smoke, don't drink, and all of those kinds of things. All the books that I have are audibles and are available. Just check on my podcast, jonabrink.com, and they are available all over the world, really, in English, and I intend to translate them in other languages as well.
Perfect. I will look for them, and I'm very interested to see them for effective communication and the passion and the dream. So yeah, and you're very privileged because once it was a few months ago, I went to the flower store to buy a flower for a lady who was becoming 50 years old, and I said. She was giving me a card, and I said, I don't want to put the how many years she's turning, because people, especially women, don't like to say how old are they. And the lady from the flower store told me, today the age is a privilege, because to get to a certain age, it's a privilege, and you're a privileged person, and I'm a privileged person because I have the chance to talk to you. It's a complete privilege to be part of your podcast and to be a guest of you. So thank you for that,
Vesela, it
because you're a
was
real example and an invitation for other people how to live. This is what I'm doing, to be an example and an invitation for other people, but you're a complete example and invitation how people should live their life in
I,
a
I appreciate that, Vesela. Let's make sure we stay in touch. I'm going to mention to Scott to stay in touch with you maybe 6 months from now or so. We'll do another podcast, and I'll send you another
yes.
copy of my book, or let you know stay in touch on my website that you can see what is happening. And again, for all those people watching us that want to see more of these kind of podcasts, subscribe to our podcast, look at our books and order them. They're relatively, we have some low prices on the ebook ones as well as audibles, and then give us reviews of it. Is always appreciated. And then for this podcast, subscribe to us and then share it and like it and make comments. And Scylla, it was a privilege and a pleasure to have our discussion. Good luck for you. Stay in touch with me, and then this podcast will be released today. So probably later on today. For you now, it's 10 hours later than here. It's probably around 8 o'clock in the evening or so.
Yes.
Amazing.
Exactly. It's 8. Yes.
So
yes,
you
yes.
can still see it before you go to sleep. No, that's 12 o'clock. You probably look at it in the morning. Anyway, this is what it will be. We don't edit much on it at all, and it's available to you and all your people from around the world, as early as tomorrow. Vesela.
Okay, great. Thank you
Thank
very
you again
much.
for our podcast. I really enjoyed it. Take care.
Yeah, thank you very much. For me, it was a real pleasure. Thanks.
Take care.
And
bye.
bye.
Bye-bye.